The young man the Hart family had sponsored, Simon, had just been accepted into graduate school. He posted about it on social media, detailing his inspiring path from a remote village to the city, and he seemed ecstatic. The post included a picture of him with my wife, Clara. The caption read, "My benefactor, my support, the most unique person in my life." He also mentioned her academic position. "Isn't she M University's youngest master's advisor? Becoming an academic supporter for her is definitely a way to show gratitude, right?" Simon had even pinned his own comment at the top of the post. "Thank you everyone for the blessings. I'll try to graduate with an extra certificate." I stopped for a second and continued scrolling to his most recent update. This one featured screenshots of his thesis, specifically the full acknowledgement section. Every single sentence was dedicated to Clara, praising her for late-night guidance and patient encouragement. I found myself staring at those screenshots for a while. I recognized the content because I had seen that same paper on Clara's computer. She had told me that this particular paper was extremely important to her. I remembered staying up late to help her review it, even though I had a fever at the time. It never occurred to me that I was essentially helping her build something for someone else. In that instant, it dawned on me that even a marriage that seems perfectly stable can develop cracks. When I arrived home, I was completely taken aback. A young man with tidy short hair was standing in our kitchen, busy cutting fruit. He was wearing my slippers. When he noticed me standing there, I saw a brief flash of annoyance in his eyes, as if I was interrupting him, but it vanished almost immediately. "Leo, I've seen pictures of you. You look even better in person," he said. He walked out of the kitchen holding the plate of fruit, acting perfectly at home and showing no signs of awkwardness at all. My wife, Clara, was sitting on the balcony with her laptop. She was so focused on her work that she hadn't even noticed I was home. My academic exchange trip wasn't scheduled to end until the day after tomorrow, but I had completed my responsibilities early and decided to come back ahead of schedule. "Leo, I'm Simon. Clara must have mentioned me," the young man said. He placed the fruit platter on the table. As he looked down, a few strands of his hair fell neatly across his forehead, which gave him a more delicate and gentle appearance. "I've been trying to write my thesis for the last few days," he explained, "but the dorm is just too noisy, and I haven't been sleeping well. Clara was kind enough to let me stay here for a few days. Please don't worry, Leo. I'll take care of all the chores. You can just focus on work, and I'll make sure Clara is well taken care of." I frowned. Clara had brought someone home just because his dorm was noisy? That was difficult for me to believe. Clara and I had known each other since we were kids, and she wasn't the type of person to lose her sense of boundaries because she felt sorry for someone. I had agreed to marry her precisely because we understood each other so well and were on equal footing. Even if our marriage didn't end up as a passionate love story, we at least wouldn't become a couple filled with resentment. Besides, in many marriages, simple suitability is often more important than being deeply in love. Clara is intelligent, attractive, comes from a good family, and has no real vices. Our families are business partners, so while it wasn't exactly a dramatic, made-for-TV arranged marriage, our union was complementary in many ways. As a life partner, there really was no better choice than her. Of course, our connection was based on more than just calculation. We genuinely liked each other. I still get a twinge when I remember the time she mistakenly thought I was going on a blind date. She hurriedly flew back from an overseas academic conference, showing up at my doorstep. The normally calm and collected Clara appeared completely frazzled. Her hair was a mess from the cold wind, her coat was wrinkled from her anxious rush, and her eyes were red and tired, as if she hadn't slept in nights. "Leo, if you ever decide to get married, can we get married?" she asked. I was standing in the doorway holding 2 large bags of trash, completely stunned. Clara is a typical science-minded person. She isn't very good at expressing her feelings and had never explicitly told me she liked me. Even her attempts at comfort could be awkward. Back in school, she would mock me if I lost the top academic spot, poking me in the forehead and saying, "You're so dumb. Make sure you catch up next time." Then she would grab my paper and start explaining my mistakes. It never occurred to her to intentionally score lower just to make me feel better. We eventually got married, a natural progression, and everyone considered us a perfect match. I remember the night before I left for my overseas exchange. After we were intimate, she nestled against my neck and said, almost playfully, "Leo, let's have a baby." I softly agreed. If nothing had gone wrong, we should have been together for the rest of our lives. But now, that future seemed a bit uncertain. I walked into the house with a straight face, stepping directly onto the floor in my loafers. "Hey Leo, I just mopped this morning. Aren't you going to change your shoes?" Simon exclaimed, covering his mouth. His voice finally got Clara's attention. I glanced at him coldly. Slippers are personal items. I don't like wearing slippers that other people have worn. Our guest slippers looked completely different from our personal ones, and Clara and I had a matching set, which was clearly visible at the door. Simon froze. He probably assumed that because he was sponsored by the Hearts and Clara had invited him, I would just let it go, even if I was upset. He didn't expect that I simply didn't care about those social pretenses. He quickly took off the slippers and placed them in front of me, sounding flustered. "Sorry, at my home, several of my brothers and I all share one pair of slippers. I didn't realize you had so many rules, and I've never seen such nice ones before." Clara came in from the balcony holding a mug, and Simon looked at her, his eyes full of unspoken distress. But the woman he viewed as his protector didn't seem to notice his signal. When Clara saw me, a soft light appeared in her normally indifferent eyes. "You finished early. Why didn't you tell me? I could have picked you up." I casually threw my briefcase onto the couch, but before I could speak, Simon's choked voice interrupted. "Sorry, I think I made Leo angry. I didn't know I couldn't wear his slippers. How about I buy a new pair to replace them?" Clara glanced at him, then turned her attention back to me. "This is Simon. I've mentioned him before. He just got into graduate school, and his dorm situation isn't great, so he's staying here for a little while." I knew that the Hearts had sponsored many students, and Simon was one of them. He reportedly had several siblings, and as the oldest, he would have likely been forced to work right after high school like his brothers if it weren't for the Hearts' help. I understood that. What I didn't understand was why, during the month I was away on business, he had moved into my house and was wearing my slippers. "Leo, I'm just an ignorant guy from the country, so please don't be mad at me. Just teach me what to do once we're living together." From the country? Planning to live together? I almost laughed. "Then why are you using my hair gel and cologne? I remember leaving those in the master bedroom. Even if you don't have such rules back home, didn't school teach you that you shouldn't touch things that don't belong to you?" I scoffed and threw the slippers he had worn into the trash. We had 4 pairs of guest slippers in the shoe cabinet, yet he had chosen the matching pair that Clara and I share. Clara frowned slightly and said in a helpless tone, "We can just buy new ones after dinner. They're only slippers." I flatly refused. "I've been awake for 15 hours. I don't have the time or energy to go out just for a pair of slippers." Clara opened her mouth but didn't say anything. The tension in the room was obvious. Simon weakly apologized again. "Sorry, Leo. I'll clean the floors and buy new slippers." I cut him off. "We have a robotic vacuum. Don't act like you're taking on some great burden in front of me." I walked straight to my room, hearing muffled crying sounds behind me. When I finished freshening up and came out, Simon was gone, having left with his suitcase. Clara was sitting on the couch with her eyes downcast, her profile looking calm. "Are you upset?" she asked. "What is the reason you're upset? When we got married, we agreed to communicate. We said we would speak directly to clear things up. That way, we could save time and avoid misunderstandings and distrust. We didn't want to test our relationship with the silent treatment." I was blunt. "Clara, bringing a young man home to stay doesn't seem like something you would do." She chuckled, covering her mouth as her eyes softened. "Are you jealous, Leo? I thought you didn't care about me." Sweet words are nice, but that wasn't the answer I was looking for. "He's just a student sponsored by the Hearts," she explained. "He was having issues with his dorm and his social life, so he needed to stay somewhere else for a while. The places my parents suggested were either too far away or weren't ready for a guest." I smiled wryly. "Clara, without the Hearts, without you, would those issues still be problems? Excuses about not liking the dorm or being afraid to talk to roommates don't sound like things a kid from an underprivileged background would say. Plus, he's 27, not 17. He took 2 extra years to finish his undergraduate degree and 3 years to get into grad school. You might believe those reasons, but I don't. Those social media posts and comments make his intentions perfectly clear. Anyone can see it." She leaned against me, resting her head on my shoulder. "I've been so tired. I can't sleep well when you're not around. Clara needs Leo. You have to believe me." I thought about it for a moment and nodded. If 2 decades of friendship could be shaken this easily, then why would I have chosen Clara in the first place? I've always believed she's a good person. Even without passionate love, she wouldn't do anything dishonorable. The next day, I drove to the lab just like always. She still prepared my morning coffee and packed vitamins and fruit for me. Things seemed to be mostly back to normal. During my lunch break, I checked my phone. My feed showed Simon's latest video. The caption was, "I must fly like a bird to my mountain, thanks to my goddess." The first photo was of my favorite book, the one I used to ask Clara to read when we first got married. Yet the copy she had given to Simon had the author's signature. With a trembling hand, I kept scrolling and saw screenshots of a chat between Clara and Simon. Clara. Don't sweat the small stuff. Clara. If you're feeling down, spend more time at the lab. Your energy shouldn't be wasted on trivial things like slippers. Simon. Then why can someone else waste it? Clara. I can't control others, but I won't let you waste it. Simon. Haha, I'm honored, at your command. I mindlessly scrolled through the comments, feeling the blood drain from my face. It made me think, should I go for my master's now? Don't get your hopes up. Most advisors are like mine. They can't go 3 sentences without critiquing my thesis. It's definitely original. In a daze, a colleague handed me a list. Leo, here's the list of students selected for the M project group. Do you want to see it? I nodded, signing my name absent-mindedly. This was a collaboration between our lab and M University. The team at M University wanted us to give some of their students a chance to join our project. Our team had agreed to let them send us applications so we could screen them. We figured maybe 10 students would get a chance. That night, I drove home, and Clara had already made dinner. I slipped on the new slippers she had bought and placed my phone on the table in front of her. How come you'd get a signed book for him and not for me? She doesn't use social media much and prefers calling over texting, so I had to show her how Simon was interpreting her every move and how others were viewing their relationship. Her eyebrows furrowed tighter and tighter as she read. She put down her phone and said in a serious tone, I understand. Clara explained that the book was a gift for all the students, not just for Simon. She said I didn't get one because she thought I liked the book itself more than the people involved. As for Simon, she said she would handle it. I looked at her and nodded gently. All right, I trust you, for the last time. The following days moved forward smoothly, and the projects at the lab were getting on track. Just before I was about to dive into a long period of overtime, I got a call from Clara. Clara, who usually loved cooking at home, surprisingly wanted to take me out for a dinner date. I looked at the empty lab and happily agreed. It was that familiar old restaurant, the one Clara and I had been going to since high school. They make the best pickled dishes in the city. Just as we sat down, a familiar figure appeared nearby. It was, of course, Simon. He was carrying a tray, serving water, and taking orders from guests who had just arrived. When he saw us, or more accurately, when he saw Clara, his eyes welled up with tears. They fell uncontrollably, dripping onto the device he was using to take orders. I shook my cup gently, looking down without saying a word. Clara glanced at him, and she couldn't stop herself from frowning. Did the Hearts stop sponsoring you? Simon took a deep breath, trying hard to control his emotions, though his voice still trembled. I really appreciate Auntie and your care and help, but from now on, I'm going to manage and work my way through college myself. He sneaked a quick look at me, speaking with a touch of defiance. That way, I won't upset Leo. I lifted my head and looked at him coldly. You want to work your way through school? With your qualifications, you could find a tutoring job or work as a teacher at an agency. There are plenty of ways to earn money, but you chose to be a server at a place we go to all the time. I have no idea what you're trying to pull. Simon looked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He quickly tried to explain. It's just a coincidence. Clara took me here once, and I saw they were hiring, so I thought I'd earn a bit more money. I smirked. Earn money? With your status as a graduate student from MIA University, isn't there any job that pays better than being a server? A student should act like a student, with clarity in their eyes instead of obvious schemes. He suddenly stopped what he was doing and choked up. Leo, not everyone can talk so confidently and act so courageously like you. I'm from the mountains. I'm not good with words, I barely knew I shouldn't share slippers with others, and I'm terrified of dealing with people. To me, a job is a job. Whether you're earning money in a fancy lab or I'm working here, it's all just work. I know you look down on me, but you don't have to keep humiliating me. Clara turned her head and looked at me casually. Leo, don't corner the kid. Simon stood there, trembling next to Clara. He bowed to me with what looked like genuine sincerity. I'm sorry, Leo. I shouldn't have flaunted Clara's kindness everywhere, and I shouldn't have upset you. I formally apologize, and I'll delete all the videos. And please, stop making things hard for me. I was confused. How have I made things hard for you? Simon glanced at Clara with a look of grievance. The project at your lab. I applied for it too. I know you don't like me, but I've really worked so hard. Why did you take away my chance? It suddenly hit me. Today's little drama was all about this. Recently, the selected students from M University had been joining the lab. And by pure coincidence, out of Simon's 4 roommates, the other 3 had all been accepted. When they returned to school, they couldn't stop talking about our lab. The lab with the largest funding in the province. Mom and Dad, I've made you proud. Oh, it makes all the difference where you're working, whether it's a gold or diamond nest or just a doghouse. The food here is just too good, and they give you so much for free. The highlight of my resume. I heard a family member of our teacher works there. Leo, who's training us, is incredible. He's so young and talented. The only men I admire this much are Daniel Wu and him. I had checked all the selected students' resumes, but Simon's had never come to me. I immediately got the colleague in charge of selections to send me Simon's resume and glanced at it. Sometimes, instead of questioning others, you should ask yourself why. Clara looked at me silently, her eyes calm. I knew she was upset. Leo, don't joke around with someone's future. I paused for a second, finding the situation a bit funny. I was laughing at how I had never really understood her all these years, and laughing at how she had never really known me either. Otherwise, why would she choose to believe someone else over me? Seeing Clara stand up for him, Simon started crying even more. I know it's my fault. It's all my fault. I didn't mean to blame you. Whether I get into the lab or not is just up to you. I stopped him. I don't have that kind of influence, and even if I did, I wouldn't waste it on you. Clara didn't seem to believe me. I checked. You're the project lead. But I know it's a joint decision, so I won't interfere. But today, you pushed him too hard. I gave a small snort. I pushed too hard? Out of respect for you, I accepted his resume even after the deadline. But can a student who hasn't even passed their Level 4 English exam have the basic ability to read English literature? Or should I show you the other students' resumes? Simon glanced nervously at Clara, worried that she might think it was his fault. You know, I just can't get along with my roommates. They didn't even tell me about this project, and by the time I found out it was too late, he said, almost laughing in disbelief. How can someone blame others for everything? As far as I know, the recruitment announcement for this project was posted everywhere at your school. If you didn't notice it, that's on you. Why should your roommates be obligated to tell you? But I have a thesis, Simon defended himself, a bit of determination in his eyes. And its quality is better than even those of my senior classmates. I nodded. Oh, a thesis is definitely important. But when you had me suggesting over 30 changes just in the first 3,000 words, is that really something to boast about? Ironically, the thesis he was so proud of was the one I had stayed up all night to revise for Clara. The meal fell apart. Or rather, it never even happened for me. When I left the restaurant, Clara chased after me and grabbed my arm. He's just a student, Leo. You didn't have to humiliate him in front of everyone like that. I pulled my arm away and looked at her coldly. And what about you, Clara? When you accused me of targeting him in front of all those people, did you ever stop to think about how I would feel? In the 3 years we've been married, or really in all the time we've known each other, have we ever had a fight like this about someone who doesn't even matter? The answer, of course, was never. So why is it happening now? Leo, he's my student, she insisted. And how is that my problem? Clara didn't come back home that night. Someone on M University's social media walls posted a video of what happened at the restaurant. And there was also Simon's social media update. The motivational role model you all admire is actually just using his mentor's family. First, he mooches off them, wears the husband's slippers, and uses his cologne. And he can't let the mentor go either. You could say Leo is so outstanding that Simon desperately tried to be the third wheel but couldn't even succeed. He usually seems so aloof, but it turns out he's this kind of person behind the scenes. The comments exploded, and the post went viral. Clara practically became invisible, while Simon became the target of the entire campus. Isn't that our dorm building? No wonder he suddenly started staying outside. Even though the videos were deleted, didn't this ring true for a so-called motivational influencer linked to him? Isn't his rise to the top somewhat motivational? Everyone's path is just different. Let's see how the school handles it. Everyone likes a young and talented Clara, but these guys are shameless. I remember he's not that young. Isn't Clara just about 5 or 6 years older? Gross. Going into someone else's home without permission and wearing the owner's slippers? Imagine if he had athlete's foot. That's how boys without manners behave. Didn't the original poster say he used other people's stuff freely? Uncomparable. But he really has thick skin. I still draft what I want to say in a doc before talking to my advisor. Wimpy group meet up here. I sat in the study, looking at the photo frame on Clara's desk. It was our first picture together. We had just finished our first high school monthly test and had tied for first place. Our teacher wanted us to take a photo together. I remember she was muttering before the picture was taken. Finally, someone who can compete with me. Now you have the right to stand by my side. I rolled my eyes. Next time, it'll just be a cool solo shot of me. You can relax somewhere else. In your dreams, she retorted. And so we became the only reference points for each other in high school. Clara, what was your answer for the last question? I'm not telling you. How do you translate that English word? Call me big sister, and I'll tell you. Get lost. Clara, do you want to go to Q University or J University? What about you? Q University. Then I'm going to Q University too. After our scores came out, I went to the US and she went to the UK. We would meet up every year, argue every time, and always be there for each other. Finally, as everyone had hoped, we became a strong pair. Suddenly, my phone started vibrating like crazy. It was Clara. The moment I answered, she was crying. Leo, how could you ruin a boy's future like this? He's just a student. Are you trying to ruin his life? He didn't even do those things. Facing Clara's groundless accusations once again, I felt incredibly calm. But why did my chest hurt so much? It felt like I was about to suffocate. What happened? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Stop pretending. I'm actually starting to wonder if I chose the wrong person 3 years ago. With a sharp sound, my hand shook slightly, and the picture frame crashed to the ground. It shattered. Maybe it wasn't just the frame that was broken. For a matter that she usually wouldn't even bother to send a text about, Clara went out of her way to open a social media account. She appeared in a video, looking as calm and collected as ever. Simon and I have known each other for a long time. I welcome anyone, including him, to apply for my postgraduate program. He has visited my home, and he often visits my parents. The reasons aren't up for discussion, but it's all normal interaction. He wore the wrong slippers because no one ever taught him these things, just like not knowing to use a sukyum, serving spoon when dining, or to stand on the right side of an escalator. As for his test scores and academic abilities, everyone has their own timeline. I believe my student will bloom one day. Clara always had this ability. In just over 3 minutes, she had completely turned the situation around. Overnight, everything changed. I can't believe they bullied a boy like this. Besides the wife, who else could have done something so low? The boy freely admitted that he was supported. Clara is like a life-saving benefactor to him. Sometimes delivering local specialties or cooking a meal is just a normal way of showing care, especially in our hometown. And who else but someone in the household would know about wearing the wrong slippers? It had to be the wife. So gross. I heard this guy, Leo, works at the coolest lab and comes from a wealthy family. He even took that freshman's spot in the project group. What? A rich kid pushing around the working class? Someone should look into this. If switching majors means I can't do related internships, then what about all of us students who switch majors? Are we just paying tuition to the country for nothing? In just half a day, all of my personal information was dug up and posted online. Someone challenged my workplace about my qualifications and my thesis. Even my mom's company got a call from the tax office saying they had received a bunch of real-name reports against her. Since that day, Clara hadn't come home. She moved into the faculty apartment at the school, which only fueled the online rumors. That night, she sent me one last message. "That book really isn't for you. You're nothing like the main character in it. Simon is more like him." For a moment, my nose stung. Thinking back to all the times I had bent over backward to treat her well, it just seemed pointless. Clara was really awful to me. Simon's number of followers doubled, and he continued to play his inspirational influencer role. He even started getting endorsements, with Clara sometimes popping up in the background of his videos. Sometimes she was shown in the lab, sometimes in her office, or at academic conferences. His latest update was about his thesis proposal, and he claimed Clara had given him over 100 suggestions for changes. I was such a fool. The feedback was mostly positive. One skeptical comment said, "If Clara helps every student like this, I've got nothing to say. But if it's just for this blogger, where's the fairness in that?" This comment shot to the top but was deleted quickly. Later, more screenshots of that deleted comment started popping up. Simon realized something was off and quickly changed the viewing settings for that post. By the time I got a call from my mom, I had already packed up all of Clara's things, ready to drop them off at the Hart's house. "Have you seen the stock price?" she asked. She didn't say any more. Because of my issues, my mom's company's stock price had been dropping. Almost everyone was talking about how if a mother has a son like me, how good could she possibly be? They figured if they just dug a little, they'd find all sorts of issues. On the other end of the line, the woman who had always had my back was still there, cleaning up my mess. "If you did those things, then it's my fault for not raising you well. I'll take the loss. If you didn't, then handle it your way. I've still got your back. But your money and the money of those uncle investors is still money. There's no reason to lose it over a few words from outsiders." I sniffed, feeling strangely wronged. "Mom, Don't say anything. Don't I know the son I raised? Handle it when you're ready." Simon's part was easy. Track the IP address. Track the IP address of that so-called informed source. Just as everyone had said, only 3 people were home that day. If I wasn't the one spilling details and spinning them, who else could it be? Of course, the IP address matched Simon's. I got a lawyer lined up to collect evidence and sue Simon, and to deal with my divorce from Clara. For me, the hardest part was my marriage with Clara. Maybe because I had put so much effort into it, reaching this point felt both sad and incredibly tough. But I had to believe that all this sadness, as hard as it was, would pass. On Clara's mom's birthday, which is a kind of high society gathering in our city, Simon strutted through the Hart's Hall in a high-end suit. Everyone could see the outfit was expensive. Even the brooch he was wearing matched Clara's. He was all smiles, going on about how the Harts and Clara's mom were like family to him, and how the Harts were his anchor in this city. When he passed by me, he greeted me as if he had just noticed I was there. Leo, Clara already apologized for you. This suit was a gift from her, you know. We had to spend a lot of time getting it altered. If I were you, I'd just apologize to Clara. She's got a good temper." The glee in Simon's eyes was about to overflow. "Are you enjoying yourself?" I asked. "What?" Simon's smile froze on his face. "What are you up to?" I gave him a genuine smile. "It's just a casual question. What are you so afraid of?" Simon stood there, dumbfounded. He probably didn't even realize why, between the two of us, he was still the one who was instinctively scared. Clara's mom hadn't been in a cheerful mood from the start. Before the dinner began, I had told her I wanted a divorce. To avoid affecting our family's business relationship, I had waited until after her birthday. If our divorce could be handled smoothly, that would be ideal. If she refused, Clara's mom might need to persuade her. After all, taking it to court wouldn't be good for me, her, or our companies. She tried to talk me out of it for a long time, but I wouldn't budge. You see what's happening today? If it were your son standing here, you'd support a divorce too, right? Clara's mom opened her mouth, but no words came out. She just sighed heavily. I've watched you grow up, Leo. Clara did you wrong. By the time Simon swung by with champagne for the third time, proudly strolling past us, my friend Mark couldn't hold it in any longer. Is this the jackass who's aiming to turn the Hart's home into his own nest and Clara's grandma into his own granny? Mark has known me since we were in diapers. He was wearing an expensive cologne and has a mouth as sharp as a dagger. Clara just had the flu recently and ran a fever. Did it blow a fuse in her head or something? She's short-sighted, not blind. Look at our Leo, isn't he handsome? Just check out those eyes. 2 of them, just the right amount. I lowered my gaze. I'm getting a divorce. Do it, Mark said, without a second's hesitation, just like when he used to coax me into pulling all-nighters at internet cafes when we were kids. When it came to relationship issues, he always advised breaking up. I was initially attracted to Clara's face, and the one her family sponsored. The guy dressed up all slick. I'm afraid even a master could hardly contain him. Don't let his bad vibes rub off on you. I couldn't help but chuckle, glancing at Clara from the corner of my eye. She had been standing nearby throughout the entire banquet, her lips pressed tight in a cold expression. She was waiting for me to give in, but that wasn't going to happen. Where she stood, who she stood with, whether it was at the dessert table or on the staircase, how well her outfit matched her accessories, none of that concerned me anymore. Before the banquet was over, Mark and I drove off. I left the divorce papers in her room, along with all the things she kept at my place. Our home was a premarital purchase of mine, located close to my work. We had moved there after we got married, and now the market was at its peak, so selling it was a win-win. When Clara came out of the bathroom, Leo was already gone. She hurried off without even saying goodbye to her mother, driving away. Simon chased after her, his normally crisp suit looking a bit disheveled. He almost tripped, his eyes red as he watched the black car disappear, his face full of unwillingness. Clara, frustrated, honked her horn while trying to call me, only to find that she was blocked. Just this once, she had wanted to teach me a lesson. The whole mess was my fault anyway. Yet she didn't foresee me blowing things up, not even giving her a chance for a proper dialogue as we had initially agreed. Even more unexpected, when Clara drove back home, there were real estate agents showing potential buyers around the house. "Who gave you permission to enter my home?" she yelled. "Ma'am, are you crazy? Leo authorized me to sell this place. It's his house, not yours." Clara's body shook. She uncharacteristically lost her usual composure. "Out! Get out of my house! This is my home, no entry for any of you!" Even after clearing everyone out, Clara realized it didn't feel like her home anymore. Everything had been removed, including the simple drawings on the study wall. They had been painted over. Not a trace was left. After spending 3 years here with me, over 1,000 days and nights, it all felt like a shattered dream that was now gone. Clara clutched the divorce papers, recalling our final phone call. Sitting alone on the study's window seat, I had been calm, like still autumn water. I had probably been thinking about divorce then, too. It wasn't because she let Simon post frequently on social media over the past month as some sort of punishment, nor because she let Simon wear a suit today that was supposed to be mine. Soon, I got a call from the agent saying the potential buyer was someone named Hart, offering 20% above the market price if I would meet with them. No guessing was needed. It was obvious. They must have seen my divorce papers. When we met, Clara looked like she hadn't slept in days. This was the second time I had seen her look so disheveled. She sat opposite me, urgently placing the divorce papers on the table. "What does this mean?" she demanded. "It means exactly what it says." "Leo, isn't this what you wanted?" Clara paused, then decisively tore up the papers. "I won't agree to this. I've never considered divorcing you." "But I have," I replied. She looked at me confused. "Why? We don't have any fundamental issues. I smirked. "Do you seriously think I need to use such flimsy tactics to deal with a person like Simon?" Clara hesitated slightly, murmuring, "I didn't think it through. I just wanted to clear his name. He's had it tough getting here, and he can't stand this kind of public pressure. Can't you empathize with him?" I snorted coldly. "Clara, have you ever considered how I feel? Do you think it's been easy for me to get here? Did my mother have it easy, building everything from scratch for half her life, just so you can destroy it with Simon's few posts and your so-called clarifying video?" I tried to calm myself down, afraid I'd end up crying in front of her. Clara reached out, but I jerked away. Her hand grasped at the empty air. "Leo, I deleted the video shortly after. I didn't mean to hurt you. I truly love you." I looked at her, slowly emphasizing each word. "You shove me into the path of public scorn, and then you casually delete the video. Is that how you show love?" "No, that's not the right question for you. I should be asking myself why I let you hurt me this way." Clara slumped heavily in her seat, trembling as she held her head in her hands. I pulled another set of divorce papers from my bag. "The property and shares are all sorted out by my lawyer and have been shown to your parents. Tear it up again if you want. I have more in my bag." She froze, staring at the stack of divorce papers in my hand, shaking her head fiercely. "Leo, I was wrong. I really was. I handed him over to other teachers. I can quit my job at the school. Please, give me another chance. Give her another chance?" "Clara, you know deep down that I warned you more than once. I don't have much of a choice. The moment you decided to stand by his side, fate was sealed. There wasn't even a second left for me to choose. Just sign it. Dragging this to a lawsuit benefits no one." The Harts would never allow our divorce to become a public scandal. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I got into Mark's car, and we drove away. Clara went back to school, and somehow Simon managed to snap a picture of her divorce certificate. Now he could openly admit that he liked her, and the past would be in the past. Comments under his post were already stirring up tension. "Isn't this all a bit weird? Something just doesn't sit right." Mark glanced at the latest video, not even bothered to curse. "That pixelation is as good as none. He's hinting at you, overtly and covertly." I lowered my gaze and dialed a number. "Simon, let's go ahead and file the lawsuit. Demand compensation for the losses your team calculated and a full public apology." In less than an hour, the comments under the video shifted completely. "I can't even comment. Don't recommend me this kind of blogger again. My account gains 1 million views each time, and I'm fed up. Oh my God, claiming to be an inspirational blogger while aiming to be someone's mistress? Why isn't this account banned for violating public morality?" His mentor is no good either, going out of her way to clear things up only to expose herself. We investigated Leo and his company before. Let's do the same for these two. None of them should get away. The day Simon issued an apology, the flowers along the highway bloomed with exceptional vibrancy. Spring had finally arrived in the city. He sobbed into the camera, talking about his tough life and saying the compensation demanded by the lawyer was beyond his means, forcing him to his breaking point. Yet, there wasn't a single sympathetic comment. "So, because you're broke, someone else has to bear the loss." If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? You think just shedding a few tears will solve everything? Glad to see everyone's awake to this now. Hurry up and pay. No way. Can you really think they'll let him actually pay this much? Mark casually drove with the flow of traffic, seemingly seeing through everything. I bet in a few days your company's PR will step in, playing the reasonable card, saying you've learned a hard lesson. Then the company stock will bounce back up. That's quite the calculation, isn't it? A few days later, I ran into Simon at the lab entrance. His face was cold. When he saw me, he didn't even bother to hide the hatred in his eyes. I knew you a decade ago, he said, smirking self-deprecatingly. I really hate this place. Summer is always so stuffy. That year, my dad and I were carrying eggs, both of us wearing shoes with holes in them. Those were my best shoes. We stood at the Heart's entrance, waiting for ages. That was the first time I saw Clara. I hoped she'd say something to me, but all of her attention was on you. I took a step back without making it obvious. Sorry, I've forgotten about it. Forgot? You actually forgot. Well, it was one of the most significant summers for me. Checking the time, I interrupted his rambling. I'm in a bit of a rush. Simon suddenly erupted, grabbing me. It was just a pair of slippers. You deliberately wanted to embarrass me and make a fool of me. You're just luckier than me, born into wealth. If you were born in a family that couldn't afford school, wouldn't you fight to climb up? Why do you get to ruin my life? More of my colleagues were gathering at the entrance. I looked coldly at this young man, exposing the truth. You should be clearer than I am if it was just a pair of slippers. You just wanted to test Clara's limits, living in my house, wearing my slippers, using my things, doing what the man of the house should do. Is it really just a pair of slippers? Don't blame your misfortune on others. Simon suddenly laughed, tears streaming down his face. So what? You're nothing now. A divorced loser. What if you're rich? You're just a toxic, wicked bachelor. Only an older woman would marry you to raise someone else's kid. I smirked, swirled my coffee, and then splashed it in his face. You're almost 28, right? And in 2 years you might not even graduate from your master's program. When I was your age, I was in a top research group. I'm 30 now. Being wealthy is the least of my merits. If my life can fall apart, what about yours? Can you even imagine? From that day on, I only heard about Clara. Clara quit her job at the school. The school leaders didn't ask her to stay. I kept working on my projects. These matters no longer affected me. As for Simon, the next I'd hear of him was when he got arrested for intentional assault. That day in class, a rural woman barged into the room, claiming to be Simon's fiancée. It turns out that for all these years, Simon's parents had promised her that he would marry her after graduation. She had been supporting Simon's family with her earnings. But a few days ago, she saw Simon's video on her phone. Panicked, she bought a train ticket to the city to find him. You all lied to me! You're coming back home to marry me! No more studies for you! Simon almost instinctively pulled out a small knife from his bag and stabbed the woman. More than once. Meanwhile, I wrapped up all my projects, ready to quit my lab job to continue my studies. 3 years later, I became the youngest doctoral advisor at M University. The day before my birthday, I saw that familiar figure under the streetlight, just as I had I don't know how many times before. I ignored it and went straight to my parking spot. Clara finally couldn't help but step in front of me. Leo, have you been doing well these past few years? I took a few polite steps back and smiled. Pretty well. Clara's eyes suddenly welled with tears. I haven't been well, not at all. Without you, I'm not okay. Not even a little bit. I slightly frowned, and Clara must have thought I had softened. Leo, how about we get back together? I know I was wrong. All these years you haven't remarried. It's because you haven't met anyone more suitable than me, right? I suddenly felt a bit annoyed, It turns out Clara isn't all that different. Not getting married is because I don't want to, not because I'm waiting for you, I said. Clara interrupted me, excited. Don't you feel any regret? Not even a little? She cautiously reached out and touched her little finger. I sighed lightly, resigned. That marriage was a tiny mistake in my life, which I've already corrected. It won't affect my future, but your reappearance is quite impolite. You're smart enough. I think I've made myself clear. The rearview mirror of the car reflected Clara's figure. She no longer had the aloof elegance from back then, and she wouldn't stir any more emotions in me. That night, I got a call from Clara's brother. Leo, Clara just got into a car accident and is injured. The doctor says it's quite serious. Do you want to? I replied. I'm in a meeting and can't answer this right now. I'll get back to you afterward. Clara, lying on her hospital bed, desperately watched her brother hang up the phone. She knew in her heart that even if I finished, I wouldn't return her call. Seasons may repeat, but people can't turn back. From now on, the road is just a road, and I am just me.